a company founded in 1988 by Larry Fink, that has significant investments in most US banks from JPMorgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and many others. They also have a large amount of shares in major pharmaceutical companies and have major control of mainstream media, and most recently purchased 2.2 million shares in Trump's media group. That gives them an interesting footing on the US government. As of 2024, BlackRock assets reached a record high of $11.6 trillion, up from $10 trillion the previous year. This will also mean that BlackRock manages more wealth than the top 1% richest people in the world, which sounds crazy. BlackRock has a strong grip on world government affairs, with 3 important board members sitting on the Council of Foreign Relations and the World Economic Forum. No other company has gained this many roots in world government affairs and global companies, and he did this all in 37 years. And what's really interesting is you never heard about them until you start to look them up, with major questions on how did BlackRock gain so much influence around the world, and how could BlackRock go from being an investment firm to becoming the world's most powerful company. In 2008, headlines of a financial crash created a Great Depression, unseen since 1929. News around the world broke, and stocks fell to the all-time lows. Oil peaked to $150 per barrel, and prices of goods and services went to an all-time high. This meant life for many was about to change. Unknowingly to everyone, it was under control of Larry Fink, who believed mortgage-backed securities had been the fuse all along. Between the years of 2008 and 2012, undertook several strategic acquisitions to expand their reach, which were in trouble during the financial crisis. With these, he transformed into the world's most powerful man on Wall Street. Not just that, but the world. BlackRock sold technologies that help banks create solid returns called exchange-traded funds, short for ETFs, which became widely popular because of the stability and strong returns. In doing so, Larry Fink had his hands in every industry, from the biggest banks to the smallest retirement funds. As of today, BlackRock along with 2 other asset managers own 80% of the S&P 500. With technologies improving year over year, Larry Fink knows what technology can provide in the future, which is why he created a program called Aladdin, short for Asset Liability Debt Derivative Investment Network. And as of 2020, is managing approximately $21 trillion in assets and serving over 200 institutes, from pension funds, asset managers, banks, and corporations. To put into context, this number is higher than the GDP of China and Japan combined. With this amount of control, they played a significant role in assisting the Federal Reserve during the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 economic downturn prompted by COVID-19 pandemic, and now has unbreakable ties with world governments and holds unprecedented power over trends, cultures, foreign policies, and the banks. As Jim Morris once quoted, "Whoever controls the media controls the mind." And this perfectly lines up to one of the ways BlackRock controls the world through media. BlackRock, as the world's largest asset manager, holds significant investment stakes in various media companies through the funds it manages on behalf of its clients. According to a 2021 article from The Common Reader, BlackRock, along with Vanguard, collectively owns substantial shares in major media conglomerates: 18% of Fox Corporation, 16% of CBS, 13% of Comcast, which is a parent company of NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, and Sky Media Group, 12% of CNN, and 12% of Disney. These holdings mean BlackRock, along with Vanguard, has significant influence across the media landscape. And now, as of 2024, bought itself 2.2 million shares of Trump's media and technology group Corp. As they own a large portion of shares, BlackRock exercises its voting rights on behalf of its clients in shareholding meetings. The investment portfolio is never ending and has a stake in all major corporations in the S&P 500. In 1988, BlackRock started a program called Aladdin, a single workstation from Sun Microsystems, but has now become a sort of Skynet of the financial world, where it accurately predicts the outcome of every single investment. But the question is, where does Aladdin get this information from? Well, that's where things become very jarring. You see, because BlackRock has ownership of banks, insurance companies, social media giants, and even pension funds, Aladdin now possesses a huge amount of personal data on everyone who has ever knowingly or unknowingly given BlackRock money. And with such a powerful tool under their arsenal, everyone now wants a piece of the pie. And by controlling this much data, BlackRock now has control of governments. With all this control, do you think everyone knows about them? If everyone knows how much this company is worth, some people may start raising questions. In 2022, a report showed that BlackRock are responsible for the high housing costs in America, as Larry Fink has currently $120 billion in the real estate market, mostly in purpose-built rental housing and multifamily properties. Talking about the real estate market, a video emerged of a woman from the World Economic Forum telling the audience you'll basically own nothing and be happy. Even if BlackRock says they don't buy individual houses, what they do is buy into companies that help build houses. In the United Kingdom, BlackRock bought nearly 12% into IB stock, who is UK's largest brick manufacturer. This is relevant because UK homes are generally built of brick and is pushed by the government initiative to construct 1.5 million homes over the next 5 years. The investment reflects BlackRock's strategy to capitalize on anticipated growth in housing development across the UK. And in the US, BlackRock has invested heavily into single-family rental homes through various investment vehicles. Not only that, but BlackRock has purchased land for development, particularly active in regions such as Texas, Florida, and the Southwest, areas where demand for rental housing is high due to high population growth and increasing housing shortages. With these plans, BlackRock can squeeze even more money out of the working class people and artificially inflate house prices to force people to rent out, meaning it will be impossible for anyone to afford to buy a house in the future. This brings me to my next point, the Ukrainian war. Ukraine holds an estimated $7.5 trillion in resources, making it a highly sought-out prize for Western nations. However, Larry Fink is already in discussions with Zelensky, positioning BlackRock to profit from Ukraine's post-war reconstruction by advising Kiev on structuring its $411 billion recovery fund. BlackRock could influence policies that prioritize privatizing state assets, such as energy grids and farmland, or directing lucrative contracts with Western corporations and governments that have invested heavily in the war effort. As with his influence over other world governments and financial elites, Larry Fink would likely leverage BlackRock's vast network to make Ukrainian debt dependent, securing deals that align with his political and financial interests. BlackRock's strategy hinges on private capital mobilization, serving as a Trojan horse for post-war reconstruction. This was already outlined in a Memorandum of Understanding with Ukraine in November 2022. The plan is to attract so-called public and private capital for Ukraine's development fund, focusing on energy, agriculture, infrastructure, and technology, areas where BlackRock excels in asset management and financial structuring. However, because Larry Fink has no morals, he'll use his control of land to seal deals with Zelensky in rare earth minerals that other governments have not succeeded yet, to help exert his power over the world. While some have raised concerns over BlackRock's involvement, questioning whether it will prioritize Western corporate and government interests over local needs.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
These voices remain a minority. Larry Fink operates largely behind the scenes, with significant control over media narratives, keeping public scrutiny to a minimum.